Good morning, everyone. My name is Marco Bravo. I'm with the University of Texas at Austin. Great pleasure to be here. Thanks, João, Miguel, for the kind invitation. And I'm here, so the challenge was to let you know about what we are doing with Portugal. And I think it relates in a lot of ways of what we're doing here in Julia, what you guys are doing individually. So bear with me for the next 10 to 12 minutes, please. So the UTAustin Portugal program is a long-standing collaboration between the Portuguese government through the National Science Foundation here, FCT, and the University of Texas. And it started a little bit more than 18 years ago. And it focuses on research, education, so training, research, exchanges, and innovation. So it's a big part of what we're doing. And just to give you a little bit of a background, we focus. So we're starting the fourth phase now in 2025. So we're ending the phase 3 and kind of merging to this next phase. And the research areas that we've been working on are over there. So advanced computing, space Earth interactions, that's kind of what you guys are doing. And I'm going to go into more detail into that in a second. Medical physics, which is, proton therapies and things like that for cancer and all that stuff. Then nanotechnologies, and then technology innovation and entrepreneurship. Those are kind of the areas. And there are, there are several output metrics that we capture every year. I'm just going to highlight a couple just from some examples from 2023. It's a lot of the things we do is collaborative research between Portuguese researchers or researchers based in Portugal. They don't have to be Portuguese, but they have to be in Portuguese institutions, and researchers at UTAustin and MD Anderson as well in medical physics. And most of the output is in joint research, so joint papers, joint patents, things like that. But a very interesting and important metric is also on the innovation part. And let me give you a couple of recent impact examples. So this is Anne, and Anne is the co-founder of one of the startups, Portuguese startups, Sphere Ultrafast Photonics, that participated in the program. They very tiny when they started. They're still not huge, but they were definitely smaller, and they started with leading one of the research projects. That's how this company started, and Anne got to be awarded with the Nobel Prize for Physics. We were very lucky with that. I mean, we don't claim we have anything to do with it. We just claim that we were lucky to have Anne participate in one of the projects. So it was pretty awesome for us, very, very lucky of us. But it kind of brought this huge spin on this company. Another good example is Paloma, and Paloma is the PI of one of the large projects we have. We have two types of research projects, what we call the strategic projects. Those are €1 million in Portugal, $1 million plus in the US, both combined for 3 years. And then we have smaller exploratory projects, 1-year projects that we also fund. And this was one of the big ones. And the great thing about it is this project leveraged other funding. So a ERC grant, which are pretty substantial for these researchers. And so the project really worked as a ground force for that. And so a 50K project with us leveraged, 1.5 million for the researcher, which is pretty impressive. Another one is this gentleman here, Portuguese, also PI with one of the projects that got the Pfizer Award in 2023. It's a big award in this area, and he got it because also of the work that he's been doing with his project. And I would say a very, very important cornerstone we have is a few years ago, so Portugal did not have any supercomputer. And we leverage supercomputer. There are supercomputers in Europe. You don't need to have a supercomputer infrastructure in your country to do big data, right? But it was a landmark they wanted to do. And so what we did was the University of Texas donated a a few racks of a supercomputer we have there that started the first supercomputer in Portugal, called Bob. And that gave then action for Portugal to get funding to open its first supercomputer, the UTAustin. And there is an intimate collaboration with the Texas Advanced Computing Center, which is the very large facility at the University of Texas, and this new facility here. And so this was a big stepstone for Portugal to be in the map of the European HPC landscape. So it's pretty interesting, and this is, my last kind of example was, this year and last year we participated in GLEX. I mean, maybe some of you have already also participated in GLEX. It was here the last time in this island, and it's a community of explorers, and so it is pretty cool what happens there, and we became associated with it and contributing to exploring. Right, that's kind of what it is, and we now have a couple of missions going on. I'll tell you about one in a second. But as I told you, innovation is something that it matters a lot to the Portuguese government, and we focus a lot on that. Let me give you just an example of one program we started within JuliaEO in Portugal, which was to accelerate tiny Portuguese startup companies, tech companies, or deep tech companies. So we're not talking about apps, or we're talking about deep tech research-based companies. And we ran that for a few years, and it was simply incredible. I mean, the talent that was there, that is in this country, that was really needing to expand, and it was struggling to expand, right, in this tiny little market, and in Europe, which is very fragmented, etc. And all we did was providing soft landing to them, helping them to navigate the waters of the U.S. market, accelerate, get U.S. funding, and they went on their own. So it was pretty impressive. During this year, what we saw is for each dollar that FCT invested in the program, these companies were returning $33 back to the Portuguese economy. So that's pretty impressive, right? Just in taxes, hiring highly educated people, just by giving them the chance to go across the pond and accelerate there. And it's just incredible how these collaborations work. So have plenty of examples here, but I'm just going to focus on these two. So Feed Science, World Health. Those are, yeah. Yeah, of course. It was. It's a really nice statistic, but I always found it difficult to figure out. Of course. So we wanted, back then, what we wanted to do is, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to try it out. It's pretty risky, right? Because success in startups is pretty seldom, right? Most of them fail. That's the reality. And so we said, we're not going to focus on impact now when we run it. We're going to run it. We're going to focus on impact when we stop doing that, right? And we're not going to measure the impact ourselves. So what we did was we went to one of the most prestigious economics university in Portugal, at the University of Porto, is FEP, Faculdade de Engenharia, the Economia do Porto. And we asked a researcher that her job was doing that, was kind of measuring impact, and said, look, we have this program, we have these companies that went through the program, like 35, 40. They're doing things, right? We know we capture some metrics, but we don't know what really how impact can be measured. And she did it. So we funded her for a research project. She created econometric model to do all of that. And she measured the direct impact, which is the sales of the companies before and after, how much venture capital they had before, how much venture capital they got through the program, things like that. That's very easy to measure. But then she went to the indirect, she also measured the indirect impact, which is taxes generated for Portugal, the hires that they did just because of the growth that they had by participating on this and all that. And she came up with this. So it wasn't us, right? So it's a paper that she published. So that's how it happened. So yeah, it's pretty impressive. But then what happened is we would love to continue this, but then the government shifted, and As you know, when governments change, policies change as well, and they wanted to go on a different route, and so we didn't do this anymore. But it was a pretty impressive program. We hope that we can do that in the future again. These two companies, Feedzai, Swarth Health, so are unicorns now. I mean, they're very, very successful, completely different from each other. Feedzai is a big data kind of processing, real-time processing company. Their algorithms, when they first came to work with us, they wanted to be in Texas because they thought they could help energy, so utility companies, to manage their wind farms in real time. Because wind farms, as you know, you have to position the turbines according to the wind all the time. And what they did back then was they could give them feedback in real time with sensors and processing all that data in real time in their engine, whereas the current practice back then was at the end of the day, they analyze the data during the night, right? They put the computers working, and then the next day, they would know what to do based on past, not ideal, right? So Feedzai gave them the opportunity to do it in real time. But they soon realized, and as people who work with startups know that usually never end when you in the market you think you're gonna end. So they went to utilities. They're very, very interested, but utilities are very slow-paced companies, right? And so they took forever to make a decision. Yeah, I love this, but they never bought the product, right? It would take them a year, and startups cannot survive on a year time frame. And so they were so smart. We introduced them to some VCs in the Valley that introduced them to credit card companies, and they are now the #1 cybersecurity company in the world. So most of the Visa, MasterCard transactions in America are monitored by them. That's when you're trying to swipe your card and it gets rejected in Colombia, for example, because they're looking at your behavior, right? And this is not a typical behavior of this person to do something like this, so they block it in real time. And in real time means milliseconds in credit card, right? So that's what they're doing, and they're hugely successful now. They could IPO, but I don't even think they're going to do it. It's pretty incredible, their growth. And I mean, we're not responsible for that. They're talented, very talented, but we help them accelerate, tenfold, and it was just incredible. Swarth Health is different. It's a physical therapy, online digital physical therapy company that's also growing same pace, also unicorn. And Portugal is a very small country, but right now there are like 7 unicorns in this country, which is impressive for the per capita is huge if you see the number of people. And Swarth Health is one. They also went through the program. Both these companies were like 5 people back then, right? Now they are hundreds and hundreds, and it was the same, right? They accelerated through the program, and it was pretty incredible. They have soft landing with us, and they're now pretty huge. I wish I would take a job with them back then, and this was like 2012 or so. That would be cool. But anyway, it is. We're super happy about that. And it does not happen overnight in this type of programs, right? It's a program that took ages or a lot of years. I mean, like I told you, more than 18 years to really produce deep results. And now, it's ongoing. And I'm pretty excited because on the 18th of this December, the Council of Ministers of Portugal approved the renewal for another phase of the program, right? So this is public, not sharing any confidential information, and it's pretty cool. And the areas we're gonna focus on are, we're abandoning medical physics just because, it's so out there, does not relate a lot with the other areas, right? It's pretty successful, and there's not a lot of critical mass in Portugal. But we are continuing nanotech, advanced computing, space, Earth, with a lot of established. This is very tiny. With a lot of institutions in Portugal, and we have a new core area for the next phase, which is pretty exciting, which is clean energy. And as you know, clean energy relates a lot with advanced computing, with nanotechnology, even space Earth, right? There is so much, with that. And we're pretty excited with this new core activity in clean energy. Texas is very strong in clean energy, although we're known for, Houston is known for, oil and gas, but the reality is super, super big in clean energy research. We're going to focus a lot on hydrogen. And in terms of Earth space tech, what we did was, back in September, we had a colloquium at UT, and we invited there were 92 people there from Portugal, from UTAustin, discussing, and João was there, actually, and discussing what the future, what this area, what are the topics within this area that in the next 5, 10, 15 years we should focus on. Because, I mean, space Earth is huge, right? What is space Earth? What we're trying to do is looking from the Earth up, right, with some nanosats, trying to develop that type of technologies, but mostly using the data of satellites to solve Earth problems. So it's kind of with climate in a lot of different fires, for example, is a big thing in Portugal, a very important theme, things like that. And so instead of us figuring out on our own, being a top-down approach, okay, we're going to focus on space Earth, on these topics. Instead of that, we wanted researchers, the experts, to talk with each other and tell us which are the areas you would invest in the future, right? And that's what came from this, the next 3 slides are the areas that they came up with. So probably, I'm not going to read all of them, of course. I'll give you, a few seconds to read, and I'm going to share this presentation with you guys, of course. But these are the areas that they come up, the topics that they came up with that we should focus in the future. So 3 big topics: terrestrial applications enabled by space, with these sub-topics here. Then, if you allow me, next one is technology for sensing and solutions in space, with these subtopics in it. And the third one is more on satellites, more up there, which is this one on technology for enabling space activities and engineering operations. Those are the 3 topics that we're going to focus on with these subtopics. And again, when I say focus on, opening calls for projects that we're going to fund, opening calls for people to get trained, providing training opportunities in Portugal, training opportunities in Texas, providing online training opportunities, exchanges, 2 to 6 months stays in Texas, up to 2 years, for example. And there's people working on these areas, right? That's super important. My last slide, because I'm running over my time, I'm sure, is, and then we can look in the breaks whenever you want. We can definitely chat about it. There are 3 opportunities open for the, if there are people in the room that work for Portuguese institutions, please be aware. One is we have a call for projects open this month. Then, which is for research projects in this area, so Space Earth is one of the areas, again. We have Tech Launch, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with I-Corps in the US. So I-Corps is a National Science Foundation, started this program, now it's all over the United States. It's a customer discovery program for very nascent, not even startups, for very nascent research projects that they want to figure out if there is any market to the results that they have. And we cannot call it I-Corps because it's a trademark by the NSF, but we call it Tech Launch, but it's exactly the same with US certified instructors, all that we are. There is a call open right now for teams for that, to participate on that. And the third one is a mission. It's a mission with University of Bergen, with Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and UTAustin, which is called One Ocean Expedition Course, which is we have 5 grants for 5 participants from Portugal, fully paid to do this, and we're looking for doctoral students, so graduate students, or even undergrad students in special cases that will go do some research doing this expedition, which is starts here in the Azores, goes to Iceland, and goes all over to different places, and to work on climate change, on modeling, on data. And we hope that we can, this is brand new, and I hope that, I wish I was 20 again, to be able to go participate on this. But anyway, if you know any bright, it doesn't have to be Portuguese. It does have to be affiliated with a Portuguese institution or university or research lab or something, or company. If you happen to know people that could apply to this, please push them to our UTAustinportugal.org website, and that's what I wanted to tell you. I'm sorry I went a little bit over my 10 minutes, but I'm during the breaks, etc. I'm available. We can chat. Thank you very much.